Hiya! Welcome to another video where I ramble about whatever is currently on my mind, while also showing off my persistent and probably quite poor attempts at digital art. This video, and all the others in this series I guess, will be more casual and hopefully not too long. I'm treating them the same as I did with the Fanartober videos. It's an outlet for me to talk about whatever I'm currently watching or reading without committing to making a proper video with proper research and stuff. Going to be just my opinions or reactions to certain episodes or chapters, games, light novels, I don't know. So for the Speedpaint playing in the background right now, I'm using my practice sketches of Blue Lock characters that I did in the past few days, because that's what I'll be talking about for the next few minutes. There are two main reasons why I picked Blue Lock to start off. The first one is obviously the fact that the second season is airing right now, and, well, I have opinions to say about that. But it's also because, as a sports series, sketching them helps me practice the poses that are more unnatural, I'd say. Like characters doing something more than just standing or sitting on a chair or doing a peace sign. At first, I was considering using the actual anime or manga as references, but I decided against that because I didn't want to default to simply redrawing already existing panels again. So I did the next best thing and looked up photos of actual football players online to use as reference. I made a conscious decision to try and keep the poses as full bodies rather than cutting them off awkwardly, because it's good practice. I probably could have tried to fit more than 4 poses, but 4 is actually perfect for me because that's exactly how many favorite characters I have in Blue Lock. Namely, I'll be drawing Sae, Reo, Nagi, and a character from the current arc in the manga who has not appeared yet in the anime, Kaisei. So, about Blue Lock. I would love to know what in the world happened in the production of the second season. I know the animators in Japan have it rough, and I'm definitely not blaming them for whatever happened, but did some higher up make cuts in stuff? Were they forced to rush it? Was it about the money, about the budget? Honestly, none of those would actually surprise me. In general, if you don't know what it's about, it's always about money. From what I've seen so far, it's not like the staff didn't put effort into it. Yes, the animation resembles more of a PowerPoint slideshow than actual animation, but the visuals themselves, even if they're mostly just still frames, are gorgeous. You can tell they were trying to match the manga art style and panels as closely as they could, and they did a pretty good job at that. They did match it, they just did it too well, I guess, because there was no time for actual animation left. And I think it's such a shame, because after season 1 and then after episode Nagi as well, I was really looking forward to this season, but I was looking forward to seeing them animated and not just watching redrawings of manga panels that I had already seen. I do love the art style and I do love looking at it, but I'm already being given all of that in the form of the manga. Not to mention that, even though the anime style is very pretty and very faithful to the manga, it's nowhere near as detailed as the original, because it just never is, because it's a different medium. If I want to look at the really well drawn and very dynamic shots of my favorite anime football players, I'll just go and read the manga or scroll Twitter for fan art of them. The reason why I watch anime, this or any other, is to see these characters do something more. It's to see the animation and listen to the voice acting and music, and I know some people may disagree, but I personally would rather have a slightly worse art style quality, but be given actual animation that brings the characters to life and gives me something I have not seen yet, rather than watch a slideshow of everything that I have already seen. Granted, it still may change. As of the recording of this, the season is still ongoing and the 10th episode hasn't aired yet. I think it's airing later today or tomorrow. But even if the last 3 or 4 episodes change in the animation quality, that still leaves us with 9 episodes of still frames and everything that the season have been until now. And just to clarify again, I'm not blaming the animators. I will die on the hill that someone higher up made a poor decision about the budget, and that's why we're getting what we're getting. But okay, so there's one thing I find really funny about the second season of Blue Lock, and it's the 9th episode, which is also my favorite episode, by the way, because it has a lot of Sae in it. I know I just went on and on about how the animation this season is basically non-existent, and I stand by that, but in my personal opinion, the closest we've got to having the same level as season 1 so far was in the Itoshi brothers backstory, especially for that short confrontation in the snow. And I just think that's hilarious because it's like someone in the production decided that they have a favorite child, or favorite two children, I guess, in this case, and made sure they'll be getting what they deserve. Making the actual match that's a pretty big deal in terms of plot to be well animated? Nah. Giving the miscommunication brothers the spotlight they deserve? Hell yeah. Honestly, I'm not complaining, I just find it very funny, and whoever made that decision, thank you. All of that being said, while the quality of the season doesn't meet my expectations after season 1, it's definitely not the worst show. It's not even bad per se, just, I don't know, it's okay, I guess, overall. At this point, the thing I'm really hoping for this season is them sticking to how the rest of the match is supposed to go. Specifically, this will be very, very slight spoilers by the way, but it's nothing that hasn't already been teased in the previews, I think. So I'm specifically hoping for the Reo scenes to be kept as they were, especially the comments he makes to Shido after a certain thing happens, and I'm also hoping for the Itoshi brothers face-off to be given as much care as their backstory had. I know, I'm guilty of playing favorites, especially for those four, whatever. So to talk about my favorites, because I do love them, my top one most favorite character from Blue Lock is Sae, and it was the type of pick that clicked instantly. I remember I decided he's my favorite since like the very first panel he got in the manga, and then the whole siblings who care for each other but suck at communications backstory was like a cherry on top. My second favorite is Kaiser, and his situation wasn't as sudden as Sae, but I was still pretty sure I'd come to favor him eventually. I remember his introduction in the manga and how my very first thought when I saw him was literally just, oh, you're gonna be a bitch, aren't you? And I wasn't exactly wrong, was I? I did like him from the beginning, but at first he was still like my top 3 or top 4 at the time. What made him jump to second place was his backstory and the character development he got in like the most recent part of the arc we're in. And when I say the jump was huge, I mean it. He's a second for me, but he's a very, very close second. Nagi and Reo are actually tied for my third top spot. I know it's ironic to say this given what they went/are/will be going through, but whenever I'm trying to pick my top spots, it feels wrong to separate them. So I just always put them together for the third place and just leave it like that. Then the fourth and fifth, which aren't here, are something that changes depending on how I feel on any given day. Sometimes Ego is fourth and Rin is fifth, sometimes it's the other way around. In terms of personality or character archetype, Ego is actually closer to what I tend to like. I also liked him pretty much from the very introduction he got, whereas with Rin, I had to grow to like him over time. But Rin is also Sae's brother, so they share a backstory, and that fact sometimes pushes him higher than Ego purely because I like Sae a lot, so therefore I should like his brother as well. You know what I mean? In general, I like the sibling dynamics where they do care about each other, but due to certain circumstances, either because of miscommunication, a misunderstanding, or something completely else, they aren't able to actually show it, or they're stuck in a conflict that, from the outsider point of view, could easily be solved if they just talked to each other for once. But no, they can't communicate because plot issues or whatever. The clever siblings from Classroom of the Elite are another example of that. I'm not a huge fan of the show, but I did enjoy the side plotline of Suzune and her brother. But coming back to Blue Lock once again, the one character I really wish I liked more is actually Shido. I'm very conflicted about how I feel about him. Usually I sort characters into 3 categories: like, indifference, dislike. The vast majority of characters in any series, and not just Blue Lock, actually fall into the indifference category for me, because I have very specific things that will make me like a character, and at the same time, I'm quite lenient and there isn't a lot a character can do to make me genuinely dislike them. With Shido, it's the case that I quite like his Gyaru-esque design. I do appreciate more unhinged characters in general, and he actually has a reason for being arrogant, since he is the second best player in Blue Lock, so obviously he's gonna be arrogant. At least he has the skills to show for it. If I look at it from a logical standpoint and take into consideration everything that makes Shido who he is, I should like him. He fits every single criteria. Maybe he'll never become my fave, but I should still like him. But I'm not sure if I actually do. I don't dislike him, and I'm not indifferent about his character, which really only leaves one option left, but I don't know. Sometimes I just look at him and at what he does and says, and I'm like, can you not? Just don't? So yeah, it's complicated. But that's all I had to say for now about Blue Lock. As for my sketches, I like adding some color to my sketches because I find it relaxing and satisfying and comforting. And also because I recently discovered this watercolor brush. I think it's the default one. I've never used watercolors in my entire life, but I've always loved how they look. I'm really tempted to try them out traditionally sometime in the future, but I'm not gonna commit to that idea until I get more comfortable with drawing traditionally in general. And yeah, that is everything for today. Thank you to anyone watching until the end, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!